Shall we get started? Let's do that. Hi, everyone. My name is Ioana Negulescu. I am head of studio at Articulate Marketing. And today's webinar will be about how we build our websites. And we will be using the case study of HTG, which landed us a HubSpot Impact Award. So with no further ado, let me walk you through the agenda today. Whoop. Cool. So today we'll cover challenges to building a new website and how to overcome those. We know that there are a lot of fears involved when building a new website. We'll be giving you a sneak peek into our website strategy, design and development processes, and we'll be using HTG as a case study. I'll be running through some rules of thumb when designing and writing copy for a website, as well as, okay, once you've launched your website, what's next? And I'll be showing you our shiny new HubSpot theme, which is called Nucleus. Of course, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. So let's first talk about all the fears that our clients, and I know some of you also have when it comes to building a new website for your business. We worry about getting a new website because the last one was such a pain. We've heard this so many times, and we strive to do things better. For example, rather than using Gantt charts, we like to use milestones. So for example, a milestone in our process would be to finalize the design foundations. The design foundations being figuring out what fonts we will be using, figuring out the overall aesthetic of the new website, figuring out the color palettes, illustrations versus images, and all of that. Then once we've done that, the next milestone would be to design all the modules. The modules, think of them like Lego bricks. So basically, they are these kind of horizontal sections that you stack on top of each other, and you get a shiny web page. Another milestone would be getting the development done. And of course, the final milestone, which is getting the design of the website and the final website approved for launch and launching it. One of the things that we focus a lot on at Articulate is having a transparent process. And you'll see, I'll walk you through our actual website build process a little bit later. We also like to give continuous updates on progress because that is important. It gives a little bit of security and it gives our clients a sense of where we are in the project. And one thing that is really, really important for us is always calls over emails. We would much rather have a call with a client where we present the designs than sending those through an email. It's important because we can gauge the reactions of our clients if they're a little bit quiet, if they're a little bit, if they're very excited. And we, based on that, we make recommendations that are, in line with their expectations. And of course, also answer any questions that they may have. Now, we've tried to chase the developers so many times, they just won't get back to us. We do that by setting up regular project management calls. And we have those in the calendar from the start of the project. So when we have the kickoff call with a new client, we have a small admin section during the meeting where we figure out the times for our project management calls. And those are generally either once every week or once every 2 weeks. And during those project management calls, we present new work, we talk about the progress and where we are in terms of milestones, what's needed from either side. Now, designers and developers need time to actually get the work done. So it doesn't always make sense to bring them on all the calls that we have with our clients. We bring them in when it's relevant for them, but the rest of the time, if they do have time, we would like to give them that time to focus on R&D and actually getting your website done. Now, at Articulate, we take between a few days. Yes, I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but we have managed many times, and 2 to 3 months to design, build, and launch websites. With that in mind, there is no fear of not being responsive or letting things drag on for a couple of weeks. What if the new website won't meet our expectations? So before we start any website design project, we run through the marketing strategy. And if you've joined some of Matthew's previous webinars, you will already know what our process is around that. Strategy is very important because we find out who the personas are, so the ideal customer, what the company's tone of voice is, and what the brand promise is, and we can use all that information to inform any design decisions that we make or strategy decisions that we make for the website. As I mentioned earlier, we also go through a very thorough process of what we call design foundations. And basically design foundations, as I said, involves really laying out the foundations for the website. So knowing what the brand will look like and what the website would look like. Are we using illustrations? What type of illustrations? Are we using images? Do we need to design UX, UI elements? What are the fonts? What are the colors? And what is the overall aesthetic of the website? And we do our best to have a collaborative process at every step with our clients. So we involve our clients in brainstorming. We show them our progress step by step and get as much input from them and do our best to integrate it while keeping in mind the overall strategy. And of course, we do have quite a lot of experience and expertise. We have built over 10, 15 websites. And most recently, we've worked on about 4 websites pretty much at the same time, which have been launched or are about to get launched. Right. Oops, sorry. But since you're here, you may want to check out our scoring tool, which you can find at this link. And this presentation will be available to all of you, so you can access that link to figure out where you are with your website. All right, words, but let's actually get to the point. Let's talk about the HTG website and let's go through how the process went with them and how we ended up getting an award. All right, so with HTG, we followed our usual process. And here is our process in a nutshell. I use this and share that with our clients during our kickoff call. And we have that during every meeting to figure out where we are in the process. So as I said, we have the kickoff call, which is the first interaction. And during that call, we try to gauge our clients' preferences in terms of design, in terms of their brand aspirations, in terms of their overall goals, and really try to use that to inform our decisions later. Again, and I can't stress it enough, really focusing on our marketing strategy and aligning client preferences with the ultimate, goal of turning the website into a really well-functioning marketing engine. After the kickoff call, we have in parallel, 2 internal processes. One is we work together to put together mood boards, font recommendations, color recommendations, imagery, etc. And with our team of marketing copywriters, we put together sitemap recommendations. So what pages do we need for the new website? Then we have a client review call. This is a milestone, for example. If everything, gets approved, we move on to the next stage. If not, we go back and iterate and make sure that the client is happy with what we've produced. After this first client review call, we move on to the actual design of parts of the homepage. So we don't do the full homepage, but we try to illustrate basically the most important parts of that page to, again, show the overall aesthetic of the website. In parallel, we strategize on page structure. So for example, what kind of content goes onto what page? What kind of Lego bricks do we need? So modules do we need for every page to make it readable, valuable for the user, and to later inform our design, our designs at the design all module stage, which we'll get to in a second. We then go away and build wireframes, have another client review call. This is another big milestone. And if the client is happy, we've got the design foundations in place. And at this point, we can go in, design all the modules. So every horizontal section, we brief out the copy. We build out empty pages with lorem ipsum. And then we run that again through the client and get their input. We later populate the pages with copy and imagery. And that's when the website is almost ready for launch. We go through another client review stage. And after that, we run a pre-launch QA checklist of quality assurance. We launch, and then we run another post-launch quality assurance checklist, because it's very important to make sure that the website is functional, that there are no broken links, that there are no buttons that are not working properly. So here's a sneak peek from one of our meeting documents with HTG, where I'm kind of, showing progress and where we are in the process and what milestones we need to unlock. I've also got a sneak peek at some of the designs that we presented HTG that were based on their preferences and that were also based on their overall goals. And I'll talk about those in a second. So basically HTG chose to go with a second design, but with a green from the last design and with a yellow from the first design. This is the sitemap. It's just a sneak peek of the sitemap. It doesn't contain everything. But basically we use a tool called Octopus to show what pages we need to design, build, and write copy for. And here are some wireframes. I'm not going to open this link, but basically think of wireframes as the blueprint of your website. So there isn't a huge amount of design elements. All of these are placeholders. The copy is placeholder too, but this is based on all the strategy work that we will have done with our marketing copywriters. And it's guiding us to write the copy and make sure it's not too long and it fits properly within the template, and it gives our client a good understanding of what will go where and roughly what their website will look like. So now I've got 10+1 rules of thumb when designing and building your website. So these are really important things that you should take into account when building your website. Put your preferences second and focus on your persona's pain points first. This is really, really crucial because this is not a website for you to use. This is a website that ultimately will turn users into leads and into customers. Focus on how you help your customers rather than just listing your set of services. What we've seen with a lot of websites in the past, there were a lot of complicated pages with very little content sometimes. And I realized that HTG was actually an example of that, with just listing the services rather than talking about how those services can help their customers. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. What works, works for a reason. So for example, if you've noticed that most websites have the logo on the left-hand side corner, then it is because users are used to that. Everybody scrolls, everybody looks for an about page. Don't try to rename these to things that are not clear and kind of straightforward for any user, including yourself. Now, the other thing is, the above the fold area. So the part of a web page where you land that you can see as soon as you land on that page. Focusing solely on the above the fold area is a myth. Everybody scrolls and everybody knows how to scroll. And more often than not, people scroll automatically anyway. There's even a website about that. I'll leave the link in here. It's quite a funny website to look through. And it's got lots of sources on why you should not just focus on the above the fold area. Keep the navigation short and sweet means don't have a lot of nested menus, really long drop downs with a secondary drop down. Basically, try to make it as easy as possible for a user to find the relevant information on your website. So for example, If you have a list of services, just keep a drop down with a list of services or how you help the business, and so on. So the next ones, make the buttons value driven. Buttons are really, really important because they help take the user through their journey on the website. Avoid generic copy where possible. So read more, learn about this, learn more. Try to avoid that where possible. Try to give the user more value and a reason for them to click on that button. Always link to a relevant page if a page with more context exists. So if you, for example, list your services or your products, and you also have a relevant product page, then link from that section onto the big page. You want to keep the user on your website and you want to guide them through their journey. On key pages, so we're talking about homepage, we're talking about the About Us page, we're talking about your how you help your customers, we're talking about products. Avoid having too many external links, like, for example, logos that take you to your partner's homepage and so on. On the blog, however, go crazy with external links because that helps with your SEO. And always try to end the page with one or more CTAs, call to action, taking the user to the next step in the process. One very, very, very important thing for us is never underestimate the power of a contact page. We've noticed that contact pages drive a lot of traffic, but they are usually an exit point. So a point where the user just drops off the website. Try to keep them on. And we know, and question to you, how many of you have got a contact page where with a contact form, and how many times has someone filled out that contact form? Contact forms don't really work. So try to give the user at that point a meeting embed like the one we have on Articulate Marketing, where you can where you can book a meeting with someone in your company. Give them an option to sign up to your newsletter. Give them some blogs that they can read. Basically, try to keep them onto your website further. Don't lose them at that point. Less is more, and this is a rule of thumb for most things in life. What I mean by less is more is don't be afraid of white space. White space helps the user focus on the important parts. And there is data that on average, internet users spend about 15 seconds on a website before they decide to leave it. So you've got 15 seconds to really convince the user that they should stay on the website. And really take advantage of that. And finally, don't let the logo dictate a bad design. And I will explain why in a second. We designed HTG's website and their logo was out of date. However, it's not so complicated to modernize a logo in line with the new design language of the site. And actually, here's some food for thought and something that I've been thinking a lot in our website design processes. In our digital age, your brand is most likely to be your website rather than your logo. And yes, while your logo is really important for not just for the website, but for business cards, for your social profiles and so on, really focus on laying the foundations of your website and try to align the logo with the website. All right, so after strategy and design comes development. And I realized that I somehow managed to double click and lose some of the slides. Cool. So I've made a list of 3 questions to ask your developer, which are very important, and I'll answer all of them in the next few slides. What are the main steps you take in order to code our website? How do you make sure that the code is tidy? What we see quite often with, especially with ready-made themes, is that there is a lot of code. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of lines of code, which just make the site slow. And there are, for example, if someone wants to implement a change, the developer then writes a piece of code to override the previous code, which is really messy. When and how often do you check for speed and overall performance? How does building a page once the website is developed look like? So, is it a friendly user experience for whoever builds the page? But also, if you work with us, you may ask our developer, Kyle, what's the fastest you've solved a Rubik's Cube or sous vide versus pressure cooker, or which Lego set is really the most enjoyable to build? This is our development process in a nutshell. We check the design and build a plan. We use Notion for that. We use Notion for a lot of planning and for our meetings. We set up the base code, so the navigation and some of the modules. There are some presets that we have that apply to every single website. We then prepare a QA checklist for every design element and functionality that we need to build for that specific website, to make sure that we take everything into account, from how it needs to be styled to what it needs to do to what kind of animations it's got and so on. Then we scaffold all the modules in HTML. So basically just really putting the bricks, and then we start styling them. So, painting and decorating and so on. We test everything, we check performance, we make improvements as we go to always make sure that the websites are optimized. And we have an internal review by the team before it goes to the client for approval. And as I mentioned earlier, we also have a thorough pre and post-launch QA process. Now, we regularly improve the process following best practices. So, what worked for a website may now be improved for the next website. Like finding logical ways to solve complex issues without having to load, the code with more repetitive code, what I was mentioning in the previous slide. All right, so you have a new website. Now what? So how do you grow your website, and when should you, look for someone to help you out? Some of the things that you may want to focus if you're wanting to build a marketing engine, as I was saying. Create new content regularly. So, really focus on your blog. Create gated offers. So landing pages where you can download a white paper. Promote new offers, not just through call to actions on blogs, but also throughout the website where relevant. So you may write a piece of content on a specific topic. And if you have a page that mentions that specific topic, add something to take the user to that. Think about building a pillar page. Pillar pages are these very long landing pages that really give a lot of information about a specific topic. The other thing is a squeeze page, which I should have written in here. And squeeze pages are landing pages that really focus on one action, but give a lot of context about the company, about what the user would get by signing up to that specific thing. You can look at A/B testing page content, design, or button copy. We've done that, especially, we work with HubSpot, and HubSpot has all of that as part of their tools, which is really great because you gain quite a lot of insights into your specific users and start really learning how your users interact with your website, what kind of language they like, and so on. Track page visits and time spent on a page, and improve pages that underperform. So if a page is valuable to you and you want to promote it more, think about, okay, why is it not quite getting the traffic that you need? Maybe an option would be to link to it from a page that gets a lot of traffic. Maybe an option would be to improve the copy. Maybe an option would be to improve the buttons taking you to that specific page. Or, work with a team like Articulate to build and implement a conversion rate improvement strategy. And we do that by spending quite a lot of time on your website and trying to think about the user journey, about conversion points, and about, well, putting together A/B tests and doing some SEO optimization as well if needed. So based on where you are with your website, so if you don't have a lot of traffic, then you may want to first and foremost build more traffic before you start doing a lot of A/B tests, because A/B tests need to be statistically significant in order for you to learn things. And with a website that does not drive a lot of traffic, A/B tests may not be the right thing, but SEO may be something that you should focus on. All right, so my final slide is Meet Nucleus, which is our HubSpot theme. We are in the process of launching this onto the HubSpot marketplace as well. We built this, and actually our own website is also built on Nucleus. So if you do not wish to go with a bespoke design that we build for you specifically, where we build every single and design every single module for you, there is an option that would make the process a little bit faster. It is a highly optimized website. It works with a drag and drop editor. It's got pretty much everything you need to get started with your website, have a neat and tidy theme, and start bringing in leads. And unfortunately, this is the end, my friend. But don't forget about next week's webinar with Matthew about collaborative change management. And now over to you for questions.
Joanna, thank you very much. As is often the case, people are not forthcoming with questions, but thank you everybody for joining today, and I will stop recording now.